Hi guys, Jared here with Day Traders FX. We have had a wild couple of hours. This has been the most active Monday I've seen in a little while, so let's have a look at all of that. Real quick, if we look at the U.S. markets, we can see oil consolidated around about $97 for quite some time, and you can see it's worked its way much lower into the $92 range. Dow is having a little bit of a rough day, down over 200 points. S&P down almost 30 points today. Really a big day. Italy, lots of worries about what's going on in Italy and the election there, and other U.S. news. So we're seeing kind of that flight to safety with the U.S. dollar rallying like nobody's business. Real quick, just to look at the news that we have coming up. As far as in the next several hours, we do see a little bit of the Bank of England, Governor King speaking, and then coming into tomorrow, we have consumer confidence. We have Bernanke speaking. We have new home sales for the UK. We have inflation report earnings, and the week continues on with a whole bunch of news and a whole bunch of stuff. So so that's kind of where we're going with all of that. Let's jump right over here to the charts and see just where things are going. The trade that we took today. All my lines got taken off here. So the trade we took today was the break of the of this high up here. It was just a nice little simple trade. We're looking to trade the break of 132.45.50 and trade it into 13300. So we did this in the UK session. You can see just a nice little 60 pip move. We grabbed some great pips out of that. And remember, 13300 was our final destination for this upside movement. You can see we got a pin bar up here, and then this thing started to tank. And I talked about if we get below 131.50, then I'm definitely bearish, and we have done the heck out of that. So we ran up to that to that nice little resistance, which is last week's lows, and hit that, which is also the top of this short-term channel on the euro dollar, and turned all the way around, easily broke through 131.50, and have continued down very nicely. So this channel has really been running around and making some movements, and we're right at the bottom of that. We might see some bounces here. If we look at the longer-term time frames, you can see that we finally, after a little while, it's been a couple of months, we finally touched the 200-day moving average, and we're at the bottom of this channel. So there's going to be some support here. I'm going to look for a little bit of a bounce, and we're going to see if this can run back up and give us some opportunities to short it, probably against that Friday low, which is around 131.50. So I want to see this thing come up just a little bit. It's about 65 or 70 pips below that, so I want to trade it against that Friday low, but I got to get I've got to see some retracement before I do that. So I'm not ready to jump into the euro dollar just yet. And like I said, we may be bouncing off this weekly support and bottom of the channel, and looking for that 131.50 as a target, and ultimately is the area where I want to short the euro and take it back down even lower. So we're in a little bit of a holding pattern on the euro dollar. Pound dollar, we had a great trade on this one. We watched the market kind of bounce around here at the close. Near the close on Friday, we got into a sell and just let it ride over the weekend. Locked in some profit. You can see that that went very nicely for us. I closed out at about 140 pips on this one, and it left a nice little gap here. So as we filled this gap, the markets have kind of run back up and made their way back up into weekly pivot, which we talked about during our UK session this morning, and it's filled that gap. We do have a new high with a negative candle here, which is always something that I look at, and this might be ready to start heading back down. So I'm keeping my eye on this one. Ultimately, we have to short against the Friday highs, which make me a little bit nervous right now. It's 140 pips away. So the short-term trade obviously is just above that high, which is about 25 or 30 pips, but the big move needs to have stops up above this Friday high, which is around 53.20, 25 is where we need our stops, and let this thing kind of bounce around. But I think we've got some nice downside potential left on this pound dollar. But I'd like to see it get a little bit closer up into that 52. Get a little closer to 52, up into some of that consolidation there. You can see at the daily chart, we had a pin bar. We broke that thing right in half and are in just a very nice little downward movement. So I like to get a little bit of a move closer into the 52, above 152.00 if possible, to trade against that Friday high, and that's what I'm looking for. Otherwise, if we continue to kind of verify this bottom here, if we make one more test of it, which is 70 pips away as well, then we might have an opportunity to buy off this. But I'm really kind of just in a holding pattern on this pound dollar. I'm really not ready to do too much just yet on this pair. So especially with kind of the reaction that we're seeing with everything and the US dollar rally that is coming in full force, huge amounts. Aussie dollar, there's just a little kind of easy run on this Aussie dollar, and I'll just so that we have this as context, I'm looking for this area right here, about 102.65. We've double bottomed on it. That was kind of the low of the week where we opened up and jumped down to that, made a nice little run up, pin barred there. We're coming right back to it again, and it's just really hopping around in this area. So if we break 102.65 and ultimately about 102.50, 60, even just a little tiny bit lower, then I think we're headed into a double bottom here, a nice little low on these larger time frames. But we're really starting to get choppy and consolidated below the 200-day moving average and above this 102.25 support. We have a couple of dojis right here, which is kind of concerning just a little bit. Here's a doji, and then this candle is really having trouble, finding some movement. So hopefully that is, recharge and that nice little rundown continuing, but we have to kind of just be very cautious of this right now. So again, a break of about 102.60-65 is going to be a nice sell opportunity against this high right here. So we had that nice little run up, and that's going to be 40-50 pips away, but we need to go against that high and target just support. First of all, support down here, and then ultimately parity is what I'm ultimately aiming for on the Aussie dollar. So that's where we are there. Quick little look at the euro yen. We talked about this morning. Some got into it, some didn't. That was the break on the euro yen of this little trend line and filling that gap. And you can see that it did break, and it barely ran 600 pips from the break, about 550 pips from the break. The daily high to low on euro yen is 650 pips. Good grief. It's a huge movement. But this was one of our trades this morning, which was just trade the break of that trend line. And that obviously turned out very well. All the yen pairs are starting to run down very nicely with the news and everything today. And so this is going to give us some opportunities, hopefully, to basically what I want to see on all these yen pairs is some retracement and then some opportunities to start shorting this pair and taking it back down. We have a lot of missed daily and weekly pivots that have to be hit, hundreds and hundreds of pips down there. So in the coming day or two, we should see some very good opportunities on these yen pairs to start shorting the heck out of them and taking them way down there. So I'm going to be looking for that. And then last but not least, the euro Aussie has made a bit of a move, and it's just coming into you can see this trend line. It's kind of a messy trend line. We kind of test it, make a little dip below. We're kind of testing it, but we're coming into that, and I'm still keeping my eye on this, but not totally ready to do too many entries on that one just yet. But we have some great opportunities on the other pairs. It's going to be a wild day. Don't miss the daily wrap-up session today. That's going to be super important because there's going to be a lot to talk about as things continue to develop over the next couple of hours. So thanks a bunch, everyone. Thanks for being on. Follow me on Twitter at DayTradersFX, and I will keep you updated with everything that I'm doing, but we're still in some big developments for the week. So thanks a bunch, everyone, and we're going to have a fantastic week. We started off great with a nice euro and pound trade, and we've kind of taken things from there. So thanks, everyone. We'll see you in the chat.